Shalom, shalom. Welcome to Elect Life. My name is Liz McGee, and I have some wisdom to impart, get some oil in your lamp for the journey that we're all on, because the bridegroom is coming soon. I think that is the good news, the really exciting part to lockdown. We're beginning to realize things are going biblical quite fast. So I want to just start with a couple of, hopefully pulling a couple threads together, because I have really had such a revelation in the last month. I have been looking for truth all my life. Now, yes, I found truth in Yeshua, and he is the door. I found the way into the house of truth, so to speak, through the door, through Yeshua HaMashiach. But it doesn't stop there. I have a continual appetite to know more and more, to know more about Mashiach, to know more about the kingdom, to know more about, our Father, my Father in heaven, and all this. So it's a process of learning, ever coming, drawing nearer, getting closer, and getting much more intimate with. But anyways, I wanted to say that there's a famous understanding. This is a quote from the Tikini HaZohar, and it says that Elijah the prophet said to Shimon Bar Yochai. Now, this is the author of the Zohar, and I won't go into the whole story, but but Elijah appears to him and gives him tremendous revelation. And if you read your text carefully, Elijah was doing that in and out even in his own lifetime. Elijah is one of these characters that's a little bit larger than life, all right? Is not just a earth dimensional soul, let's say. Anyways, the whole history there is very interesting. Many people down below will derive nourishment from this book of yours, the book of the Zohar that is Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai wrote. When it will be revealed finally in the last generation, before the end of days, close to the Messianic age, even the deepest passages will be explained. There's something in the Bible called riddles, and there's sealed knowledge. There's all these words that are used that will encrypt it. Once it's used in Habakkuk one time, and it's translated as dark sayings. It's like, what are they talking about? But this is very deep. I look at it like very deep encrypted intel. And but even the deepest passages are going to come out and be explained. That's part of the disclosure at the end of days, where everything hidden, even Yeshua says everything hidden will come to the light. Now, the Baal Shem Tov, who is another very famous Torah sage, founder of the Hasidic movement, he always said that, and I've read this said by many rabbis, many sages, masters of Torah, have said this. Nachmanides, for one, taught that in each and every letter, there are worlds, souls, and divinity. That's from the Testament of Bereshit. So, like, what in the letters? Because I told you my discovery now. The Word. You want the Word of God? In the beginning was the Word. The Word was God. The Word was with God. Nothing was made without God. All this. We're talking about the Word is the letters. And it's combined. It's like in a nut. This is the total core DNA living, like all the living cells of Elohim himself. Let's just say if he is a body, and we have all the analogies that he relates anthropomorphically to us. He's got cells in his body that replicate him. It's called the letters. All right. The archetype is exactly like what's going on inside of us. You can't. That's called a straight place. You can keep thinking linear like that. But that there's worlds, there's souls, and there's divinities, meaning there's gods. So this is what is in. Now, where do you keep all this knowledge? Between the letters and between what I've been teaching on in the tree of life, the Kabbalistic tree of the Jewish Kabbalistic tree of life, where you have 10 Sephiroth, 10 circles, which are the emanative energies, the living energy centers of Elohim, so to speak. Like it's like, okay, he's got a brain, he's got a heart. That's what he tells us. Centers that he has hands, he has feet. Now, we're not in a literal, you can't, in your mind, go making him a dude with, these are just the best that we can do to understand that he has much at his disposal to work with, and we don't have to have just a blank brain. You don't just have to be floating on a cloud when you think of God, okay? It's much, you can get very real, because there are very real worlds, souls, and divinity gods in all of these different realms. This represents, I'm just blown away by this all the time, 10 heavens, 10 Sephiroth, 10 levels of almost like you could say computer programming. And the 22 letters, these combined, these have all been kept very, this is a pictograph, very tightly, and you'd have to know how to read these charts, read this and understand what the symbols are telling you, and then have all the deep background. But this is the Godhead. This is everything that we can know about Yod He Vav He, which is quite a lot. And it goes, it has within it this understanding, and this why it was said that the mysteries that are in the Zohar will come out, because people will be ready for them. They will have the mental capacity. Imagine that, to understand the simplisticness and simplicity of this, because it really completely models what we know to be true in a computer world where you can make worlds. All right, it's not an accident. So there's two kind of areas that it covers: the Bereshit, the Ma'ash Bereshit, which is the acts and the secrets and the mysteries of creation. How this all started, what is going on, how creation is staying and sustaining itself, and as a living, intelligent organism. This is how the angels understood this. How we have to understand it. It's very intelligent, and it's full of living, which the word is actually nefesh chai, living souls or entities, and there are gods, there's rulers, there's hierarchies, there's archangels. We know this. There are different levels. In the writings, you can absolutely categorize 10 levels, hierarchical levels of angelic orders, and it's really quite clear when you know the Hebrew, when you know what you're looking at, when you understand what the words are referencing. So there's quite a bit of information packed into this. And this is what is going to, and I know, and this is what cracks me up, no matter how much Satan fights against it, there is going to be an elect remnant at the end of the age that are going to be masters of Torah to this level, like Moshe. And we are going to be able to change the dynamics. I mean, it's prophesied, and the whole creation is awaiting the manifestation of the sons of God. I mean, that's what it says, of Elohim in this. Now, one of the things, the reason it just, I can't believe it, the word, it was so simple that it was the letters. I don't know why that's so, maybe other people have known it, and I'm just like finally putting two and two together. But we're not just talking about, see, when people think of the word, I know the evangelical mind, they think of books, and they think of books like King James book, they think of books, and so they think probably in the throne room, there's going to be the word. I don't know how you could think up there. And see, the letters are living, and they have shape and form and sound and energy, and they have ways that light channels through. I mean, it's so, there's nothing arbitrary, and they have retained. This is the thing. This is why Hebrew is the pure language that everyone will go back to speaking. And once you learn the system, there, even a child can do it. And there's math in it. I've said that so many times. But part of the redemption, we talk a lot at the end of the age, it's the end of the exile. Now, the exile is a big concept, especially in Hebraic understanding, because actually we're all 12 tribes are in exile right now. None of us are, quote unquote, back to our original state, our high heavenly estate. None of us are in the land. Very small percentage are, quote unquote, in the land. And but it's a process. It's starting to happen. But I have to make a disclaimer. Actually, I mean to say this for the longest time. I think that there's a real trip up in people's understandings. You have to have the Pashat, you have to have the Pards level of understanding. So Pards, the Pashat level, the very simple level, meaning the Remez, a little hint, something's deeper going on here. You can begin to see, peer deeper. The drosh, which is, I don't teach a lot of drosh. Drosh is like is the commandments, is how to keep the light in your vessel contained and make it work for you. Good mitos, good character. What is permissible? What are Yahweh, the 10 commandments, come on. But anyways, and then the sod level is where they really do hide and encrypt the deeper understandings, the mystery levels. Because a lot of that is where the time, it has all to do with time. You don't want to let your enemy know what you're doing ahead of time per se, even though a lot of it is written in the stars and all this kind of stuff. But we know that Yahweh has intel that he keeps it so cryptic that not even some of his, until, that's what Paul says, I have understood a mystery. Daniel said that I was given an unsealed, it was unsealed to me. I was, the mystery was shown to me. These are levels that, and they record it, but they still record it very cryptically, which is where you need the keys to unlock what the deeper meanings are. So, that's why okay, stop with that rabbit trail. But when you take, so the state of exile, we usually think in the physical, because we think of the, going back to the land. But in the deepest level, in the most highest level, in the truest level, earth does not really, okay, Yahweh in the beginning, Yahweh made the heavens and the earth. More than anything, the Bible is talking to us when it's using the words heaven and earth on our mentalities, our psychological level, and our physical level, believe it or not. Really, because Adam is the center of the whole redemption story, and then the whole earth once Adam gets fixed, everything go back into its total normal working, the whole cosmos is going to be humming along forever again. But this level where, I gosh, let me pull that thought together again. Okay, so we have to think that the earth is not only is it the physical body, but it represents the lower parts. All right, the earth is the lower part here. It really is a part of the whole creation. All right, the heavens is this level right here down. These Sephiroth right in here. This is the heavens. And they have different, here, I will do something. I will screen share this because that'd be much easier to see. Hold on a second here. Okay, see this? And what's exciting is that now I do have an understanding of, well, here, let me see how this is the soul levels. I've said this so many times. These words have Hebrew words attached to them. Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama, Chaya, and Yahira. Okay, these over here, these are the worlds. Remember I said that the rabbis said, the sages say that in every letter, and these are the letters here, this is a big place. Think of this like the whole, like your body, and you could all of a sudden see every cell, and then inside every cell what it was doing, and then inside where that cell was inside the organ and what it was doing, and then that organ was doing all sorts of communication with the rest, and then you put bones over it and you put muscles over it. I mean, you just keep building this thing out, all right? And you're going to get, bottom line, a creation down here. You're going to get something you're going to see. Something's going to pop out of the ground, so to speak, of the earth. But all those processes that had to happen to get that seed in the ground, and then all the conditions just right to make it pop out, it's all of these workings, these emanative names, energies, parts of the body, the Godhead of Christ, the Adam came. I hope that makes sense. These are the hidden psychological and spiritual levels. And the Torah is 100% clear. It's in the Hebrew letters, so we can go back to the letters. Look at the word neshama. Look at the word spirit or soul every time you do find out which word it is, because it'll tell you its location, what world it's in, what emanative names of Elohim. I mean, there's so much, and like even here, Gavero, you wonder where the sides of the north are. The whole, where Yahweh created evil and where he put it. This is the tree of the knowledge of good and evil here on the left. You got to know how to read this thing. This is Yod He Vav He, the middle pillar. This is Hesed. This is his right hand of mercy. And these are of victory. This is where he brings down, and it's all coming down. This is the head. All right, so let me give you this cryptic. It's cracked me up because the other day I was going through some notes and I found this and I read it and I went, I get it. This is how they encrypt what I just said. All right, here's a statement from the Zohar. It says 1 above 3, 3 above 7, 7 above 12, and all are linked together, one with another. Like, how are you supposed to know what that means? All right. It took me, but it's so simple. Okay, 1 above 3, 1. This is the Ein Sof. When you understand what this is depicting, and everyone that Ein Sof, the Asher Ayer, Asher, the God that is outside of me, he is above. He is. It says he is above. So he's Ein Sof. He is outside and greater. That's a whole, I don't think anyone would argue with that concept. Then it says 3 above 7. It's talking about these 3. Keter, which is the crown. That is, and this actually Keter, this is right here with Ein Sof. It's talking about there is a, see, this way, if they don't understand the spiritual programming, there is a wiring, there's a connection. Ein Sof is wired so he can talk to us in these deep levels. But then he comes down to Hokmah. This is wisdom. Over here to Bina, understanding. This is the male. This is the beginning. He separated the male and female right here. These 3. This is the Godhead, the high Godhead. This is the, they call it Abba, Ima, the mother, the father, our supernal parents. This is, but it's in the letters. And I'm not talking. We're not literal here, people. We're trying to describe an understanding of how, if we were known in Yahweh's mind, way up here in this connection between Ein Sof and Keter, with the first connection, the first wiring where information got sent. These are the 3 that are outside of, and then you can come down here, and then it says 3 above 7. These 3 are above these down here. These are the 7. You ever hear the 7 spirits of Yahweh? Or, I mean, there's so many 7s in the Bible. Why in the 7 point, in a Star of David, there's 7. In Clean Tiferet. I mean, this is the Mashiach. This is the middle pillar. Yod He Vav He. Here's Tiferet. You want to know where Yeshua? I mean, there's so much information you can. Enoch, see, I don't even want to. When he talks about the Son of God, when you get into the Merkabah and you understand there's an ox, an eagle, a lion, and a man. Those are plotted here. These are the 4 corners: Hesed, Netzach, Hod, and Gevurah. This is what it talks about when it talks about the 4 corners of the earth. The 4 corners, the 4 spirits. There's some, and this is the middle pillar. This is the Vav down here, and here. This is the Vav. You ever seen that? I hear Trey Smith uses it as his or what do you call it? Logo, but it is the Adam Caveman. It is the Yod He Vav He as a man. You put the Yod at the top, then you have the He, so it looks like shoulders and hands coming down. The Vav is in the middle. It's the pillar. It's like your spinal cord, and then the final He, legs. I mean, it's not an accident that you can stack them like that. Oh my gosh, it does get so deep and complex. And what I'm just trying to say and encourage people is that while Judah needs to maybe understand Messiah ben Joseph, they're telling we need to understand the word, and we need to get back to the Torah instruction of what the letters are telling us. All right, it's a two-way street, this reunification. But let's stop that share now. Let me just say, so the fact that I could say that, and that I forgot to say that the 7 are above the 12. Well, what are the 12? The 12 tribes, because like I was saying, oh dear, I'll have to do that one more time. Didn't finish that thought. Okay, so these 7, and if you take Malkuth, this is the quote unquote the earth, but we're not talking about the planet Earth, all right? We're talking about the dry land, the elemental particles, the down here, the organic matter that is part of making. We have a physicality to us, but we have all of these programs in us, and the ancients knew this. So there's nothing new in psychology. and what happened was there was a complete disconnect, and God had to shut the program down. I mean, I totally can see how Sam said, yeah, forget it, between Yesod and Malkut, that angel with the firing, you know, the story with the sword, the two cherubim that had the flaming swords to keep from entering. Yeah, because if our Neshama or our Ruach, if these other programs, if the enemy was able to steal these programs and drag them back down here to this where death is, where the spin cycle, where earth, where things are definitely in a cycle of renewal, death and renewal, we would have been immortally in that state. I don't think that would have been a very good idea. So I thank the Father for what he did. And it's been a process of restoration. And so much of the understanding, see, when you understand, we're talking about our psychological, and I like to call this neshama up here. These are our mentalities. The way we think is so much more important than we have any idea. We really let our minds go to waste. I'm telling you, on so many levels. But the 12, it says, and then 7 above 12. So these 7, which includes the heavens. This is the heavens, people. Trust me. You have Aleph right here. I did a whole thing. I was trying to explain to people how it's Aleph right here. That's the Aleph. Separates the upper waters, which in the Shin, which is the fire. And I can explain it down here to Mem, which is the earth. Earth is made up of water and dry land. We have seas, rivers, and the dry land, and we kind of share the space down here. All right. So, but it's all part of the manifestation of a physicality. But behind it, trust me, there are worlds, gods, and living entities that are watching over, running these programs, warring with each other. I mean, stealing resources just like we do down here. So it's amazing. All this information can be packed into this. So when in the redemption, the process of bringing ideas, theology, bringing the truth, bringing the word back to its original habitation, its original place, that's also part of the redemption. That is going to help redeem and straighten us out in our soul life and in our spirit, in our mentalities. In our mentalities, that's where all the error is, right? In our mentalities. And if you have wrong thinking, then you're eventually going to have wrong action. It's just not rocket science. But so the exile, while it is definitely a physical exile, and let me make this point because this is a little interesting. The Torah is telling us that there is exile, the state of exile in which people are displaced both physically and spiritually. So we don't emphasize enough the spiritual exile, but the returning of Torah to its natural place, also redeeming their meaning to their original understanding, is also part of the restoration, the redemption. And it's you know, I think, well, it is actually even more important because that is the tipping point. Because remember, as a man thinketh, so is he. The only way we're going to win the war, we have to really change our mentalities. We really have to get that mind, that neshama mind of the mind of Christ. And you can even go higher. There's 2 more levels above that, but for all intents and purposes, we're going to stick with this. But the tetragrammaton, the third is Yod He Vav He, is a very short and compact, you know, loaded of the whole of the Godhead. And when I say this, see that what they're saying to us, it's not only just the Godhead, because while your head, you know, the Godhead runs everything. That's nothing more, you know, but it's the body too. So I guess what it is you have the concept of the king with the kingdom. You can't have a king. What's the point of a king if he doesn't have a kingdom? That's the part of the problem. The king can't rule as he wants over his kingdom, right? He's got to get it restored to him. That's the final Passover. That's the final Jubilee. That is what we're coming up on. The final where everything will be redeemed back to its original owner. The land, okay, our physicality, which should be immortal, along with our soul and spirit, will go back to that state. And, you know, we will be in a redeemed state forever. And that's really Jubilee. That's giving everything back, the final Jubilee, to its original owner. And Jubilee is a code word for Bina. It's a code word for getting, and this is why this will happen. And it can only happen at the level. See, we got to get above our enemy. You know, he really operates down here in this lower level of Yesod. He really is down here, Netzach, Hod, and Yesod. All right. And this is not that hard to overcome when you understand. But we have resources higher, more powerful, more sublime that we can access, that we can call upon the name of Yahweh Elohim. He's got higher names, higher sources, so to speak. And this is something that I think if you don't understand the letters, you don't understand the name, it's not just God. I won't even use, I hate that. It's just such a profane. Oh my gosh, how could we have fallen so far? Makes me crazy. But the first branches on the literal level, though, it is interesting because the first branches to be broken off of this tree were those of Ephraim. So remember, there's one tree growing. There's one, it's the tree of life. We were all grafted back in, or we are getting back to grafted the tree of life, but that is the tree of life, okay? Eternal life. That's God's tree, okay? He's life. But when they turned aside, they became, and they were spread into the nations, they became wild and foreign, and that they became a wild shoot, a wild branch. That's the wild olive tree, all right? When they were returned, as Ephraim, who has been scattered and became a wild tree, it is removed from its net. So once it's scattered among the nations, and it became these wild olive trees, growing in these Gentile lands, to be restored, all of Israel must be connected to its life source or root, which is the root of Mashiach, because that's the branch. But the thing is, when you understand the word earth, it's not just talking about, or the land, the physical land. So what I'm saying is, it's not so much, and the enemy wants us to focus strictly on a Peshat level of the land in Israel, that if they don't get that land and figure out a peace plan and get it all straight, you know, that God can't. I mean, the thinking is so narrow. And when it's really talking about all of physicality, all of the earth, all the creatures in the earth, all of this, all nature that does sometimes gets wild and crazy on us, all diseases, everything that manifests will be completely redeemed, and we'll go back to a pristine state of incorporating in its immortality. It's showing its immortality for everything to see. See, we will. I guess my main point is we have to really start, in my opinion, grasping these levels that the Bible really talks about and making connections so that the earth. Is the whole earth is the Lord's. And what I'm trying, it's just, let's not think on a literal level. We're talking about a little country the size of Rhode Island. He's going to have a city there, his capital, but the whole earth is the Lord's. And there's a lot of levels to the earth. There's a lot of entities that live in the earth. There's entities that live under the earth. There's entities that live above the earth. All right, this is what, and reason that's so important for all these secrets to come out is because the enemy, who has tried to keep us out, shut us out of the knowledge of the kingdom of heaven, is going to spring a big one on us, whatever disclosure will be, these ascended masters, the aliens, whatever, that we're not deceived, and we're not taken by surprise, that we understand what's going on. All right, very important. Now, back to this concept of the letters, though, I haven't even gotten to the notation around the letters, the vowels, and all this, because I don't even, truly, this is a different methodology. I'm not trying to learn how to speak the language as a language. I'm trying to plumb its depths of light and its original meaning, which is in the letters, which is known in the writings. This is where our sages, what do you think? See, this is what do you think Judah's been doing all this time with all these writings and copying over, and why everything is so precise, and how they have they spend so much time contemplating the letters and the worlds and everything that is depicted here. And I don't know. But part of me gets a little frustrated too, because even the verse that says that They're coming out where Judah will not vex Ephraim. I mean, I do not know the Hebrew language. I can't talk the shop talk like a good Jewish rabbi with all the lingo that they have surrounded every single thought, every single concept to keep it straight. All right. So they'll have a Hebrew name for it. I don't know though, so I can't spit it back like that. But I do want to appeal to the Ephraimite mind that conceptually we can understand. And we can understand even on the level that Yeshua is saying from our hearts in a much more intuitive. It's actually we can understand extremely intuitively what is being expressed. Which now, when you're talking about this, I had to say, so back to the letters, and it's just this incredible living computer code that just, and built into it are so many, this is the part, so many, endless scenarios, endless. That's why that's when they see the quantum world, they just, and that's just like the first level, you know, of 20 levels. See, because when you really understand that it's everything is veiled. That's what the garments, everything is kind of veiled in another, cloaked, and so it's really, you would build something, you know, literally. It's just like our body, you know, we have a cell structure. We start from a little, you know, embryo, and then then one system kind of builds itself on the next system in our body, and then it covers the whole thing with skin. And I know there's a lot about Adam and what he looked like. You know, did he have skin or, I mean, I know that, but the point is still the earth is clothed. This is the point, in a final physicality. But if it was all working, if there was no disconnect, our physicality would radiate light. You wouldn't see dead cells. I guess you could. And some animals almost really radiate like that. But one of the stories that you hear when you hear about people who go to heaven, I remember reading the stories of the little kids, little boy, heaven is real. But he has that everything's alive there, that even colors, it's like colors are alive. Like a flower will almost, its color will be alive and will almost talk to you because it has an energy, has an intelligence, and it's not hindered behind this, like the veil of death like it is down here. Okay, I conceptually have no problem with it because it mirrors the way you create. I mean, I paint it mirrors how you build something, and it mirrors what we see in nature, and it mirrors what we know even about ourselves. I mean, just even the world psychology, and you have your deep dark memories or your traumas, you know, things you try to hide, and you cover them with all this whatever, you try to hide them under binge eating or whatever, binge watching something. So all of these truths we can reclaim. Start with the letters again, and listen, it's not like you're only going to learn this in the house of Judah. And you're really only going to learn it at its deepest, most profound level by studying the Zoharic writings. And what's really coming out, which is really interesting, which is going to be the next wave, and I don't know, there really is something very cagey that's been going on, because, and let me just end with this, because, you know, there's a lot of scenarios. I feel like there's a lot of people out there that are kind of, you know, they're like I still didn't finish my thought. I'm so bad. There's just the 12 tribes. See, everything up here, all of this, the heavens and this is all the systems that are needed just for the 12 souls, okay, which are down here on the earth level, okay, the 12 tribes, the different soul roots. There's a lot to this, but this is these numbers are not arbitrary, and the information that they contain, and why it's a 12 saying that. Why in the decade they say the Sefer Yitzhar will say 10, not 9, you know, not 11, 10, okay? Because they're containers. Numbers like letters contain, and you don't, you know, you don't try to put 20 gallons of water in a 10-gallon bucket, okay? You gotta. So it's interesting that when that says that, well, here, I don't want to go down that rabbit trail, but let me go back to the last point here that I just did want to make about Ephraim. and about what the plan is, because the spies, a lot of people are coming back with really crazy reports like, oh my gosh. And I know the beast kingdom, you see it everywhere. I mean, it's like a platform. It is like a computer that was there all, and then they just clicked it up, just clicked, and it's all up, and everything's right. I mean, the cashless society, the how buying and selling, how they know where you are every second, you know, and what you're doing. I mean, it's an incredibly technological lockdown. I mean, even if we get out of lockdown here, you know, what the heck, we're still in lockdown, larger over the beast kingdom that is beginning to surface. But you know what? There were giants in the land with David. The two spies looked at it and said, okay, yeah, challenging, absolutely. But we know that our God is the high God. This is our ace in the hole. And this is why I'm so happy on the reunification of all Israel, because there's a verse, it's a great verse. It says that in the last days, let me make sure, I got so many always my little scattered notes everywhere. This is the plan, I swear. We don't have to fret and moan and be. Let Ephraim arise, which is what's happening in the world today. America, I'm sorry, but we have the blessing and the birthright is manifested most strongly in the United States of America, in the world today. We are very much, Ephraim and Judah are very much alive and actually operational in America, as long as we keep our Constitution and we keep, if we could ever, you know, humble ourselves, call upon the name of the Lord, and, you know, confess our sins a little more corporately, and he would bless our name. But Ephraim needs to arise, because we need to be, let me tell you what, for the last days, if you want to have any kind of hope for this, we need the America and her allies, the free peoples of the world, the peoples who already acknowledge Yahweh Elohim, and righteous Gentiles and righteous nations to keep the economic system, to be the head of it, not like China. See, it's getting down to between the nations that are still in rebellion and the nations that have sort of, you know, already acknowledged. And it's going to come down to a total fight. But we need Ephraim to arise and to take its birthright that it has for blessing and multiplication and provision. And we need to keep a strong free market and a free, you know, exchange of goods and services under an Ephraimite leadership. Let me tell you what, in the world will be a much better scenario than any other globalist agenda anyone else could think of. Okay? And if the Lord cherishes 20 years, okay, you don't like Trump, we'll get somebody else. But the point is, you better always believe that Ephraim needs to stay. And Judah, and we need Judah and Ephraim, Israel and the United States do need, for very strong strategic, spiritual reasons, stay connected. And in their unification, so this is what it says here in Zechariah 9:13. For I have bent Judah, my bow, filled it with Ephraim, and made you like the sword of a strong, mighty man. Then Yahweh will be seen over them. There'll be one banner, one God. They will confess one name over them at that time together. Then Yahweh will be seen over them, and his arrow will go forth like lightning. Soon Judah and Ephraim will fly down upon the shoulder of the Philistines towards the west. And there's more. And that gets into just, again, we're not talking about ethnic groups. We're talking about code words for strains of rebelliousness that Yahweh still has to put down. All right. But the thing you have to see is that Judah, Ephraim, we've got numbers, people. You want to talk about a harvest at the end of the age? This is the harvest of the multiplied seed of Ephraim with that mantle, the barakah of blessing and on us. And that is an innate blessing from Elohim, but it has, when they acknowledge him and when they keep his Torah, live by his commandments, they can bring a level of peace and prosperity that the world cannot have any other way. All right, it's just can't, because. So anyways, on that note, I just thought, but this is part of the restoration. It's a numbers game. And when the two houses, did you know that the Vilna Gaon, who is one of the most brilliant Torah minds that in the last 1,000 years by anybody's reckoning, he said that as things begin to look worse and worse, and our redemption is just a hopeless dream, you know, doesn't look like, you look at the beast kingdom and go, well, I don't know, I'm going to take it on. But it says 2 opposing sides of the Messiah's disciples will come together with great power and force and unity and utterly destroy the negative forces of Hasatan. Now, this point is that the 2 opposing sides of Messiah's, these guys knew this. See, this is my point with the Zohar. This is the point with some of the way they've coded the information in the Zohar. These early rabbis, these sages, they were believers in Yeshua. But they could see, you understand how they can see and read at the level of the future. And they had to be part of keeping a lock, putting a fence around Torah to continue to preserve. It makes me cry every time I think about it. But it's okay. But together, we, you know, putting the 2 birthrights together is going to be an absolute game changer. And the harvest is going to be so plenteous. So on that note, you know, we just have a lot to be hopeful for. So redeem the time, use the lockdown to really get deep into some of the knowledge, the wisdom and understanding that is available. And I strongly recommend you do all your understanding in all your study. You want to get knowledge, which is finally the ability to articulate back to someone the hope that is in you that will change the atmosphere in the room. Shalom, shalom.